The stars had burned with war for so long that many believed peace was only a myth. The Valar Dominion and the Krith Collective, two mighty civilizations, had fought across the galaxy for more than 7 centuries. No one even remembered how it started anymore. Entire worlds had vanished. Moons shattered. Fleets of thousands had fallen into the black silence of space. To the younger races, the war was simply part of the galaxy's background noise, a storm that never stopped. The Galactic Council, once a proud organization of peacekeepers, had failed again and again to end it. Every treaty broke within months. Every ceasefire ended with blood and fire, and so the galaxy gave up. The Valar and Krith were locked in an endless cycle, neither side strong enough to win, neither weak enough to die. Then came humanity. Humans were new to the stars, barely a century into interstellar travel. Their ships were smaller, their technology modest compared to the ancient empires. But humans had something the others didn't, a refusal to accept the impossible. When the first human explorers entered the ruined belt, they saw destruction unlike anything they had imagined. Planets burned to glass, hulks of massive battleships drifted in the void like grave markers. Radiation storms swept through debris fields that stretched for light years. Captain Elias Vance, of the Earth vessel Hope's Horizon, stood on the observation deck as his ship's scanners mapped the devastation. "My God," he whispered. "How long has this been going on?" The ship's AI answered in a calm tone. "Records indicate active hostilities for 712 standard years, Captain." Vance couldn't believe it. He had grown up on stories about alien wars, but this was a nightmare written across the stars. When Hope's Horizon returned to Earth with its recordings, the images shocked humanity. Billions watched the transmission, burned cities, shattered fleets, and the silence of civilizations that had lost everything. The United Earth Council called an emergency session. Some argued they should stay out of it. "It's not our war," said one delegate. "Let the old races destroy themselves." But others, including Admiral Cassandra Holt, disagreed. "If no one stops it," she said firmly, "then it will spread. Violence has a way of growing, and if we can make peace where others failed, then we must try." The vote was close. In the end, humanity decided to act. Not with armies, not with invasion fleets, but with something completely new. Humanity began building the engines of war, though the name was misleading. They were not weapons in the usual sense. They were enormous starships designed for intervention, control, and mediation. Each one was a technological miracle. They could project disruption fields to disable weapons without harming ships. Their quantum translators could understand speech, emotion, even thought patterns. Their hulls were built not to destroy but to endure. At their core was something even more impressive: artificial intelligences with empathy algorithms. Machines built not to fight but to understand. When the first fleet of engines was complete, the galaxy watched in disbelief. The Valar and Krith had ignored the humans until now, thinking them insignificant. That would soon change. Admiral Holt stood before her officers in the command deck of the flagship ECS Resolution. The blue glow of distant stars reflected in her eyes. "Make no mistake," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We are walking into the middle of an ancient firestorm. But we are not bringing more fire, we're bringing water. Our goal is not victory. It's peace," the officers saluted. The order was given. The human fleet jumped into the Krith-Valar neutral zone, a graveyard of broken ships. The moment they appeared, alarms lit up across the sector. Valar sensors detected unknown ships entering restricted space. Krith fleets scrambled to intercept. Within minutes, both sides were converging on the humans. On the Valar flagship Iron Crest, General Thalvurak glared at the tactical screen. "Human vessels? What are they doing here?" His voice rumbled through the command chamber. "They transmit no war codes," his officer replied, "but they are headed directly toward the Krith fleet." "Then they are fools," the general said. "No one crosses the line and survives." On the Krith command ship Blood Sun, Fleet Master Craig Toll growled. "New prey or spies? Prepare to fire." Across the void, the humans kept moving, slow, calm, unarmed. When the two warring fleets finally met, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Thousands of guns powered up. Missiles waited for launch commands. Admiral Holt appeared on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Cassandra Holt of the United Earth Fleet. We come in peace. Stand down your weapons." Her words were met with laughter and threats. The Valar demanded that humanity leave. The Krith warned that any interference meant death. Holt gave her quiet order. Activate the field. A moment later, a wave of blue light rippled through space. All weapons, Velar and Krith alike, powered down. Energy readings dropped to 0. Guns went cold. Missiles froze in their silos. Confusion filled every ship. "What is happening?" shouted Craig Toll. "Who has done this?" "The humans," one of his officers answered in disbelief. "They have disabled us." Admiral Holt's voice returned, steady as ever. "You have fought for centuries, but this battle ends here. You can hate us if you wish, but you will listen." For the first time in 700 years, a Valar and Krith fleet faced each other without firing. The humans did not threaten. They did not boast. Instead, they listened. For weeks, they positioned their engines between war zones, blocking fleets from fighting. Wherever they went, weapons stopped working and communication began. At first, both sides accused humanity of manipulation. They believed the humans wanted to control them, or perhaps steal resources. But the truth slowly became clear. The humans demanded nothing. They built reconstruction drones to repair damaged ships. They sent translators to help both sides talk. They even helped bury the dead, soldiers from both armies together. Captain Vance, now serving as a liaison between the humans and alien leaders, spoke often with Valar and Krith representatives. "You've lost too much," he told them gently. "Don't you want it to mean something?" The aliens had no answer. Their hatred had become habit, not purpose. Still, there were those who refused to yield. General Talvarak of the Valar swore that no outsider would end their war. "We do not need saviors," he declared. "We will destroy the Krith ourselves." But the humans were patient. They had seen conflict before on their own world. They understood that peace was not made in a day, so they continued system by system, ship by ship. Slowly, the front lines went quiet. Months passed. Across the galaxy, rumors spread. Some called the humans the peacemakers. Others called them the interferers. Then came the breaking point. The Krith launched a surprise assault on a Valar colony, killing thousands. The Valar prepared for total retaliation. Both sides gathered in Sector Zeta 14, ready for one last decisive battle. Admiral Holt and her fleet arrived between them. She opened a broadcast to both armadas. Her voice echoed across millions of screens. "You've both lost everything trying to win this war. Ask yourselves, what will you have left when it's over?" No one answered. The silence was heavier than any weapon. The Velar and Krith ships drifted, waiting for someone to act. Tension built like a storm. Then the Velar flagship turned its guns toward the humans. "Admiral Holt," her officer said nervously. "They're targeting us." "I know," she replied quietly. "Hold position!" A bright flash crossed the void. The Valar had fired. But before the blast could strike, a shimmering barrier of light expanded from the human ship. The energy dispersed harmlessly. Holt looked at the screen and said only one word: "Enough." The ECS resolution activated its full system. The entire battlefield froze as the humans' disruption field spread. Every ship, Valar, Krith, and human alike, went still. Holt's image appeared on every bridge, projected by her AI. "This war ends today," she said. "You can keep fighting and die together, or stop, and learn to live again." Then, for the first time, the engines transmitted something unexpected: data fragments collected from the ancient archives of both races. The files revealed that the war had begun over a mistranslated treaty, a small line of trade law misread centuries ago. The room fell, silent, across every ship. Generals who had spent their lives fighting felt their rage melt into disbelief. Captains lowered their heads. Soldiers wept. Admiral Holt spoke one last time. "You have been killing each other for words that no one even understood. This is not destiny. This is tragedy. Let us end it." That day, no ship fired another shot. The battle that could have destroyed the last hope for peace instead became the beginning of something new. The Valar and Krith retreated, not in defeat, but in silence. The humans stayed, tending to the wounded from both sides. In the days that followed, people across the galaxy began to whisper about the strange newcomers, the species that didn't fight to conquer, but to stop the fight. And somewhere deep in the stars, Admiral Cassandra Holt looked out from her bridge and said quietly, "We didn't bring weapons. We brought a choice." 3 months had passed since Captain Mara Vance stood before the Galactic Council. 3 months since her words echoed across every world. We don't negotiate with murderers. But peace had not lasted. Not for long. Far beyond the Council's reach, in the dark sector of the Orion Edge, a new threat rose: the Kuroth Dominion. The Kuroth were an old and powerful species built like armored beetles, their ships thick and black as night. They had ruled through fear long before humanity learned to walk upright, and now they had invaded Lumea, a small human colony world with bright oceans and silver forests. At first, the Council received fragments of transmission, static, screaming, then silence. By the time they confirmed the attack, half of Lumea's surface was burning. Inside the Great Council Hall on Alaris Prime, chaos returned. Delegates shouted over one another, "They've gone too far. We must open negotiations immediately." Negotiate with the Kuroth? They've enslaved 100 species. But if we fight, the Dominion will destroy us all. The debate spun in circles. Fear ruled the room, not reason. Then the High Speaker Velnath struck his gavel hard, his long arms trembling. "Enough!" he thundered. "We cannot rush to war. The Dominion must be reasoned with. I will send envoys." A quiet, mocking laugh came from the balcony. General Krath of the Kreth Empire leaned forward, his golden eyes glowing. "Envoys? They'll eat your envoys, Velnath. The Kuroth only understand strength." Velnath glared. "We are not savages like the humans." At that word, silence fell again. Everyone remembered the last time humanity acted, and what it cost the Varric Armada. A holographic aide rushed into the chamber, breathless. "High Speaker, we just received a transmission from the Terran fleet." All heads turned. Velnath's tone hardened. "Play it." The lights dimmed and the council screens flickered. Static filled the room, then cleared, revealing the symbol of Earth Command, a silver eagle on a black field. Captain Mara Vance appeared, her face calm, her eyes steady. Behind her, the faint glow of battle could be seen, flashes of light through a ship's viewport. "Counselors," she said, her voice sharp and controlled. "Stand down. The Kuroth fleet has been neutralized." A ripple of shock ran through the chamber. Velnath's tendrils twitched. "Neutralized? What are you saying, Captain?" "Exactly what you think," she answered. "The Dominion's war fleet attacked our colony at Lumea. We defended it. The battle is over." Ambassador Kelnar shot to his feet. "Over? They had an entire armada." "They outnumbered you 10-1. Mara nodded. "Yes, and now they don't." The room went still. Every eye, every sensor, every mind in the chamber was fixed on her image. The hologram shifted, showing the Lumea system. Hundreds of wrecked Kuroth ships drifted silently through space, broken, burning, lifeless. The human fleet stood in formation, untouched except for a few scarred hulls. A cold silence fell across the council. Finally, Velnath spoke, his voice trembling. "You acted without our authorization again, Captain Vance. The council will—" Mara interrupted quietly. "The council will do nothing. Because while you debated, the Kuroth were slaughtering colonists. We didn't wait for another Haven 4. Kelnar's voice cracked with anger. "You can't decide war for the entire galaxy." Mara's gaze sharpened. "We didn't decide war. The Kuroth did. We decided to end it." Her tone never rose, but each word struck like a hammer. Velnath's hands shook. "You have defied the Galactic Charter." Mara smiled faintly. "Charters are only words, Speaker. Lives are real. We protect ours." Behind her, the hologram flickered again, showing human rescue ships landing on Lumea, helping survivors, rebuilding. Children waved at the sky as drones delivered supplies. "Justice," Mara said softly, "is not always gentle." For a long time, the council chamber was silent. Some delegates bowed their heads in shame. Others watched her with awe. General Krath leaned back and whispered, "She speaks truth." Velnath struggled to keep control. "Captain Vance, the council will demand a full report. You are to stand trial for breaching interstellar law." Mara nodded slowly. "Then I'll bring my report when your envoys return from the Kuroth homeworld. Assuming they survive the trip." A few delegates couldn't hide their smiles. Velnath shouted, "This is not a joke." "No," she replied, her expression turning to steel. "It's a warning." The screen went black. The chamber stayed quiet for a full minute. No one moved. The hum of machines was the only sound. Finally, Kelnar whispered, "They're out of control." General Krath gave a low growl. No, they're in control. For the first time, someone is. The human resolve while the council argued the humans acted. Earth Command issued a galactic broadcast, not a threat but a statement. To all civilizations, humanity does not seek conquest. But we will never stand by while innocents die. We do not negotiate with murderers, we end them. The message spread across every known star system within hours. Some species cheered. Others panicked. Pirate fleets began to scatter into the outer dark. Slave traders erased their beacons. Even empires that had ignored council laws before now hesitated. The galaxy had learned a new kind of fear. Not fear of destruction, but fear of accountability. The council divided. Days later, the council met again. The chamber was heavy with tension. Velnath spoke slowly. Humanity's actions cannot go unpunished. They threaten the order of the galaxy. Kelnar nodded quickly. Yes, we must sanction them. But others disagreed. The crystalline delegate from the Zir Dominion stood up, her voice ringing like bells. Order? What order? When pirates raid our borders, the council sends words, not fleets. When slavers attack our colonies, we hold debates. Humanity acted while we hesitated. Maybe they remind us what courage looks like. The chamber erupted again, but this time the voices were split. Half supported punishment, half wanted alliance. Velnath slammed his gavel. Enough, we cannot allow vigilante justice. A deep, familiar voice echoed through the hall. Then perhaps you should start practicing justice yourselves. All heads turned. Another hologram had appeared, this time showing Admiral Gian Rice, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. He stood on the bridge of a human battleship, the stars of the Lumea sector shining behind him. The Kuroth Dominion signed a ceasefire today, he said calmly. Their leader surrendered unconditionally. The survivors will face trial by human courts with evidence shared publicly. We invited your observers, but none accepted. Velnath's eyes widened. You ended the Dominion? Rice nodded. The Kuroth are finished. Their fleets are gone. Their worlds will rebuild under their own people. Free of warlords. Humanity will not occupy them. He paused. We did what you wouldn't. Velnath tried to reply, but no sound came. The council chamber was silent again. Admiral Rice continued. Humanity doesn't want to rule. But we will not watch another massacre while the council argues about policy. He looked straight into the camera, his voice steady and final. Tell every empire and warlord, if you murder the innocent, you'll answer to us. We don't start wars, but we finish them. The hologram faded, no one spoke. The words sank like heavy stones into every heart. The silence. After that night, Ilaris Prime was quiet. The council chambers, once full of endless debate, stood empty. Velnath sat alone, staring at the stars through the glass walls. He whispered to himself, They broke the rules, yet they saved millions. What does that make us? In distant systems, smaller worlds began to reach out to humanity, asking for treaties, protection, partnership. Not out of fear, but respect. The galaxy's balance was shifting. The council had ruled by law for thousands of years, but now, a young species had reminded everyone that laws mean nothing without the will to enforce them. Across the outer colonies, children played under skies safe for the first time in generations. They spoke the words they had heard from the human broadcasts. Humans don't negotiate with murderers. It became more than a warning. It became a promise, a shield that stretched across the stars. The final meeting weeks later, Captain Mara Vance returned to the council chamber, not as a defendant, but as a guest. The room was different now. The delegates were quiet, respectful, even cautious. Velnath rose to greet her. Captain Vance, he said slowly, your actions have changed everything. The council must adapt. Perhaps we were too slow to see the truth. Mara nodded. We don't want to replace the council. But the galaxy needs both peace and strength. One without the other is useless. Velnath gave a long sigh. Perhaps humanity was what this galaxy needed, a reminder of consequence. Kelnar stayed silent this time. His tendrils no longer shook with anger, only uncertainty. Mara looked around the hall one last time. We are not your enemies. But if evil rises again, if anyone dares to slaughter the helpless, humanity will act, with or without your approval. No one challenged her. As she turned to leave, Velnath's voice stopped her. Captain, what happens now? Mara paused, her silhouette framed by the shining doorway. Now we rebuild. Together, and if you have the courage, and then she was gone. The council remained still. The silence that followed was not from fear this time, but respect. Epilogue. In the far corners of the galaxy, messages spread faster than light. Pirates surrendered before fighting. Empires withdrew their fleets. And on every world where darkness once ruled, people began to whisper a single phrase, not in fear, but in hope. Galaxy warning. Humans don't negotiate with murderers. The council had fallen silent, not because it was defeated,